Hello all. Now in our analysis of the journey between NFHS4 and NFHS5, we are moving to individual states. And in that individual states, we will begin with Maharashtra. Maharashtra is a representative state in many senses. It is not a southern state, it's not a northern state, it's somewhere in between. It's a prosperous state. So let's see how it has performed. We will begin with map of Maharashtra with districts as units and see how is the story unfolded. To begin with, we look at children under 5 years of age underweight. Now in the NFHS4 and NFHS5, using the same cutoff, we see that in NFHS5, actually a kind of decline has happened. The greener belt of western districts has shrunk. We also see a corridor which can be called the west-east corridor, roughly Nandurbar to Gadchiroli or Thane to Gadchiroli if you like. But that has gained during this transition. So in a sense, the eastern belt has gained while the western districts have shown considerable decline. What is the story of stunting? Let us see. Similar cutoffs, similar picture here again. We notice gainers in the eastern belt, particularly notice this Nagpur, Bhandara, Amravati green patch, while the greener patch of the western districts in NFHS4 has now shrunk. Interestingly, the largish red contiguous patch in NFHS4 towards northeast has actually turned into a yellowish zone. So this is something which can be considered heartening. When we come to wasting, the story again, there is an improvement in the western districts this time, barring Pune. So my friends from Pune who are very fond of saying Pune tethe kai une, that is, there is nothing which is deficient in Pune. We may point out to them that Pune needs to improve its performance as far as wasting is concerned. The northern districts this time haven't fared that well. And we again notice this west-east corridor, which will be a recurring theme, as you would notice as we go along. The story in severe wasting, this is more worrying. It's a matter of concern. If you notice, there are losses in the western districts, and we also see a largish west-east patch. Now, if severe wasting hasn't declined, or in fact has gone up, and wasting has declined, again recall, it would mean that the severely wasted children as a fraction of overall wasted children has gone up. We need to look at this with some concern. The story of undernutrition is one. We also need to look at what NFHS tells us regarding the child mortality. Basically 3 components: the neonatal mortality, the infant mortality rate, and the under 5 mortality rate. Now here, we do not see any marked change in the mortality regime for the children. For a state like Maharashtra, this would be a matter of concern, because as the child mortality, different segments start coming down, the climb becomes more steep. It becomes more uphill. So therefore, more efforts have to come in. The second worrying factor that you notice is the gap between the urban and rural is very marginal for Maharashtra. Now, it may speak well of the rural segment, but does it speak so well of the urban segment? Because traditionally the urban mortality rates whether it was neonatal, whether it was child, or whether it was under 5, had been less in urban segment and higher in rural segment. So it's, in a way, are we looking at the story of urban being the rabbit who halfway through the race happily slept on the mound, while the rural tortoise kept on steadily moving. I'm not talking about who wins the race, but at least they are making advances. So I think this is one area which should be a matter of concern. And for a state like Maharashtra, a infant mortality rate of 24, etc., is not a very satisfying figure. We should move towards southern states. It should come down to 14, 15. And the dream obviously should be eventually go into single digit. But that's story for some later date. We now come to anemia. We have seen at the all India level that NFHS4 data has shown a sharp increase in anemia. And Maharashtra, we have done a slightly different way of visualizing the map. If we keep the NFHS4 cutoffs as the same, entire state goes red. Because more than 55% of children in the 6 to 59 months being anemic, that happens across the state. So another map gives a slightly different perspective as to how much relaxation in the cutoff can you give. It's like grace marks so that more children pass. If you do that, then there's a very different cutoff, not a very happy situation, but it gives us a semblance of similarity. But then this is something which one needs to worry about. I had earlier commented in the context of all India analysis that are we looking at some systemic addition or some systemic issue which has overall jacked up the anemia level. But that's something which will require a deeper study. Till then, if we are taking these figures seriously, anemia is a matter of concern. We see the same pattern when it comes to non-pregnant women, age 15 to 49. We use NFHS cutoffs, NFHS4 cutoffs. Practically in NFHS5, the entire state gets into a red zone. Yes, a small patch on the coastal western side holds out, but it's a small consolation. We see the same pattern, pregnant women 15 to 49 who are anemic. Here, we see a number of districts where the data are not available. Now, this is something which one has to be a little concerned about, but the pattern that we see, there's a similar story, those districts where the data are available. When it comes to all women who are in the age group of 15 to 49 years, we again see a worrying increase. And this time again the Nandurbar, Gadchiroli, West-East corridor, which comes in our story often, is once again seen here. And finally, we go to NFHS4 and NFHS5. What has it told for all the women in the 15 to 19 age group? Now, 15 to 19 age group is important. And here again we see, if we look at the NFHS4 cutoffs being kept same, we see a fairly sharp deterioration as far as anemia is concerned. But this anemia story needs to be looked at a little more seriously, because once again, one would like to submit that the two patterns don't gel. Stunting, wasting, underweight coming down, and anemia going up. Mortality levels haven't come down, but they haven't gone up. Anemia has gone up considerably. So the anemia story will require some more detailed analysis. I think this analysis at the state level with districts as a unit shows us that even within a state there is considerable geographical diversity. So we will now, from the western region, move to other regions, take one state each, and see how the story unfolds. So keep watching this space. Thank you very much.